I have really been looking forward to working with this collection. I've got the Sweet Halloween paper collection from Stampin' Up! And a couple stamps. This is Spooky Halloween. I love the little cat there in costume, but the dies are awesome. So that little haunted house, how cute is that? The bats and the picket fence. And then this one's called Fright Night. You can layer these up, and the dies with this set are also very cool with the eek and the boo and the spider webs, and then you've got shapes to cut out the tag. I will definitely be incorporating this one on today's project. And then we have Sweet Halloween. So titles, some journaling lines. This is a clear stamp, which is nice. You can line it up and stamp right on your project. And I think I'll be using this as my title for today's layout. I want to show you the papers really quick. They're double-sided and I already have them all flipped over. So you can see this just is a really nice little neutral canvas here with some visual texture. But the other side, you have these cut apart. So you can use as embellishments or make little tags on Halloween treat favors. And then we have, of course, what's Halloween without our classic orange color? So this is another set of paper and there's tiny little dots. And then we have the little characters in costume on the opposite side. I like the little pig and the bat and the ghost costume. Those are super fun. And then we have another pattern, and this one's my favorite pattern paper. I absolutely love the brick building with the windows. Look in the windows. You have eyeballs, and they are just the cutest little black cats and pumpkins in the window. And then this one is also, this is probably my second favorite. Love that. And then this one has little bats and candy and stars. They've added some Petunia pop into this layout, and then on the opposite side of this, we have this, like, cut apart sheet with the little Halloween scenes, another kitty in the window, little ghost peeking out, and this paper pack comes with a bunch of cutouts. You get 2 pieces, or 2 sheets of this, and they pop right out. Now, I do wanna tell you there is a Halloween scrapbooking kit that coordinates with this collection, so I'll leave both of those listed in the description box below. Let me go ahead and clear this out of the way and bring in my Versamat. We'll get started on today's layout. This is going to be a single page because I only have 3 photos. My son Clayton had texted me these photos. He was at his girlfriend's house for Halloween, and here he is casually flipping some burgers on the grill in full vampire mode. And I thought it was hilarious. It was kind of last minute. They didn't have costumes, so they just wore their regular clothes and threw on some makeup. So I am thinking about configuring these photos like this. I have a 4 by 6, a 4 by 3, and a 3 by 3 square. So let's go ahead and bring in our papers. This is cute, but I want to use the orange side and I'm going to create a frame style layout. The black cardstock is 10 by 10 and the white is 9 3/4. So we have that nice little black border, and then we'll make sure our photos are going to fit within that canvas. And then, as I mentioned earlier, I'm thinking about using the Sweet Halloween stamp for my title. So let's go ahead and grab that and we'll kind of dry fit it onto the layout to see if it's going to work. And yes, that is perfect. That is going to work out great. So let's set that aside for now. There is quite a bit of paper back behind here we can salvage for a future layout. I do have 2 other layouts planned for this paper pack. So let's go ahead and gut this out. So my black cardstock's 10 by 10, which leaves an inch border around the outside. So I need to leave room to attach to that. So I'm going in about 2 inches and I'm going to cut out the center square. Whenever I scrapbook photos of my boys with their girlfriends, someone will ask, what do you do when they break up? And it's funny because these photos were taken Halloween of 23 and it's now 2025. And Clayton and Sasha are broken up. They're no longer together. And I think that it is a permanent arrangement. They dated for 2 years. But what I did is, I pulled these photos up and I texted them to Clayton, said, hey, I'm going to scrapbook these. Do you want me to just scrapbook you barbecuing burgers, or do you want me to include the photo of you and Sasha? And he came back right away and he said, nah, go ahead and include the picture of her. I scrapbook for myself, but eventually, when the time comes, the boys will take the layouts that are of interest to them. So I wanted him to have the say. I want to incorporate more paper layers. I've selected this kind of black, scritchy, kind of distressed pattern and the gray with the candy stars and the bats. So, my goal is to stamp the Boo Crew in the upper right hand corner. So, whatever I do, I need to leave that open so we can stamp right onto that white cardstock. So, that's one idea. We could also do a couple layers across the bottom, which would still leave the upper right hand corner open. And, I think I like this better. Yes, I like that. My title fits perfectly. Let's go for it. I'm measuring to see how big I want those pieces. Let me go ahead and cut these down. To add a little interest, I'm going to put a little dovetail in the right-hand side of this paper, and on the left, I'll cut them flush with the edge of the layout. So my gray piece is 2.5 inches tall, and the black pattern paper is 3 inches tall. I'm finding center, snipping up from the middle, and then I'll just meet the middle from each corner piece. I left both of these strips longer than I think I need. That way I can dry fit them on the layout and just trim off the excess after I get everything placed. But we'll put actually, let's put the gray on top and the black, since it's darker, a little bit heavier. We'll put that one on the bottom there. We can bring in our photos and start the fun embellishing process. That's always my favorite there. I can already tell you I want to match that upper photo of Clayton barbecuing because the white border is just disappearing into the white background. But let's go ahead, get off of there, scrap. Let's put the title on the layout so we can kind of just hold that as a placeholder here. Back to Clayton and Sasha no longer being an item, I think it kind of is a personal decision because maybe if it was a big, ugly breakup, you might not want that reminder. These two are still friends and, ended on good terms. So I think that's why he was totally okay with her, being in the album. But I thought that was a good approach. Just ask them, what do you want? And let them decide. We are going to make an embellishment with the Fright Night stamp set. So I've got the word layer of this stamp and a piece of white paper and black ink. So we'll ink this up. It's really cute. It says Fright Night, Boo, Beware, October 31st, Spooky, Scare, and Eek. And I really like the look of this tag. It's cute, but it can lend itself well to like a more sophisticated layout or be kind of fun for a whimsical layout with little kids. A lot of Halloween collections can be really cutesy. My kids are older, so I try to bring out, an age appropriate look on their layouts. And I think this can go either way. So let's go ahead and use the coordinating die. Isn't that cute? I really like it. So we'll use the coordinating die to cut this layer out right here and maybe stack this kind of over on the side here. I'm going to go ahead and trim these off for now. So let's cut these down here. This strip is going to be 10 and 3/4. So again, that is 10 and 3/4 by 2.5. We'll just snip off the edge there, save that for another project. And this one is going to be 11.5. So 11.5 by 3, just in case you are recreating this look for yourself. And then, of course, I'm going to take just a moment to ink up the edges here. I know many of you enjoy creating double page layouts, and if you have a lot more photos, I only had the three, so there's no sense in creating a double page. But a very easy approach to creating a companion page for this layout would be to create the same frame style layout for your second page, and then take that gray pattern paper and the black pattern paper that I've cut into dovetail strips and run them all the way across. So this would be the right hand page with the dovetails on the right hand edge, and then on the left-hand page, you'd have dovetails on the left. So it would just look like one 12 by 24 canvas. From the punch out sheet, I grabbed the cauldron and the green ooze, and then this little Petunia Pop potion bottle here. I thought it'd be fun to create an embellishment cluster in this lower right corner to offset the tag that we're embellishing with on the left hand side. Now, earlier I mentioned I wanted to mat this on some cardstock because the white was just disappearing. And I did say this was a 4 by 6 photo. It's actually 4 by 5 1/4, so slightly smaller there. We've got that little border of black, and this will just really help to define it against the background there. In our little potion bottle in the lower right, I introduced Petunia Pop. So to repeat that color, I went ahead and stamped in Petunia Pop from Fright Night, this layering bit here, and we'll have just a little bit of this peeking out. So we're layering the tags together and you can see how that draws your eye over with that color. And then I really want to use these spider webs. These are so cute. So you could do, I'm thinking of making a cluster here for our third embellishment point, but you could, put these in corners, do all sorts of cute things with these. I'm going to layer these in this corner behind the photo. So we'll just kind of all put the inner point together. I want a whole circle, but you could do half circle, quarter circle. You could do all sorts of different configurations. We need one more, and I'll tack those down behind the photo. I wanted to point out we have Petunia Pop here, here. We need a third point of that color. So I'm thinking an easy way to bring that in is just do a little ink blending behind my title. And you know what? Let me grab a piece of scratch paper, a little bit bigger here. This can be a very dark color. So I want it just to be a soft glow, just a little something, something. So blot it off, really go to the ink pad and then a couple swipes on your scratch paper and then build your color slowly. So I'm starting in the middle and kind of creating a halo effect, getting lighter as it goes out towards the edge. Once you're happy with the depth of color, we can add our title. I've got Memento Black ink, the Boo Crew from Sweet Halloween, and I cannot stress enough practice, practice several times, just getting comfortable with stamping, making sure there's no lint or foreign bodies. That's like vet talk coming out. Make sure there's nothing on your stamp that might give you a not so great impression, and let it just hang out on your layout for a minute before you lift it up. And that looks fantastic. Yay. Always nerve wracking stamping on your layout. Now I've got Eek and a spider, both from this die set from Fright Night, and my spiders in Petunia Pop, and then Eek in the pumpkin pie. I think that looks pretty cute. And then we have the journaling lines also from Sweet Halloween. So they're kind of dotted. There's a set of 3 lines, and I'm going to handwrite my journaling. If you don't like your handwriting or maybe you have a lot to say, you could use the Avery Clear sticker paper and just adhere to the layout under the title. But I thought it would be good to just add a little bit of handwriting. Let's add a few of the bats as well. So we have 2 bats. There's a larger and a smaller, and I want them kind of around the title, adding just a little bit more. So let's start with the larger bat. We'll kind of put him angled off to the right. And then this guy, let's make him kind of going off to the left, like they're flying up out of the title. I think that looks cute. Let me go ahead and set this off to the side, and then let's add with our Glimmer brush a little sparkle. I love adding sparkle to my Halloween and my Christmas pages. Really, it's great all year round, but it just turns anything into glitter paper. So I thought it'd be fun to brush up some glitter on our word eek and then the spider also. So this does saturate the paper, so keep that in mind. You just need to give it a little time to dry, but it just makes them sparkle. So it adds a nice little touch. I'm going to go over that one a second time. I missed a few spots. And let me hold that up. Can you see the sparkle? It never shows up as well on camera. I think you can see it there. It's just so cute. Now it looks like I cut that critter out of glitter paper. Let me put this back on the layout here. And then we'll add the journaling. I have my black Le Pen journaling pen. And I'm just writing, not a whole lot, but I am writing. I couldn't help but smile when Clayton texted me these photos. He and Sasha casually grilling burgers in full vampire mode. And then I'll write Halloween 2023. So I am not going to have enough room. I'm going to need to stamp one more line. So let's do that. I've got a piece of scratch paper, and you could just ink up one line, but we'll let the scratch paper kind of catch those additional lines there. So we'll line it up, and that looks good. Give it a second. And oh no, that did not turn out. I didn't get that. You know what the problem was? My paper was doubled over, so it was just kind of too thick. I should have just had a single layer of scratch paper. So I wiped off the other 2 lines, and we'll try to line that up the best we can. And you know what? It's not perfect, but it is good enough. I finished my journaling and now I have these really cool little foam stars. They're called Shimmer Star foam stickers. There's black, Petunia Pop, and white, and they're glittery and they've got some nice dimension, but they're squishy. They're foam. They're really cute. So let's just add a few of these, and let's stop with 3 around each cluster, finishing that off. I love adding the little details. They're just so cute and can really make a fun difference on your finished page. Let's put this guy here, maybe one there, and another one there. Let me go ahead and hold this up so you can see the fun detail. I love those little punch out embellishments. They're super cute. With our stamping, that Petunia Pop background makes such a big difference. And another layout done and into the album. All of the supplies I've used are listed in the description box below. And if you're looking for more Halloween inspiration, you definitely want to check out these videos right here. Thanks for hanging out with me today, and I'll see you very soon here on YouTube.